fight plus some fights more, and I want to see Eubank and Ben.
I was just about to say, we've seen Eubank and Ben. It's grasped the imagination of boxing fans this week.
It is the time to do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Turki Alalshikh announced Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn's fight as they both got into a heated altercation after years of rivalry. Conor Ben, speaking to Seconds Out, shared his thoughts on the recent altercation with Chris Eubank Jr., expressing frustration over the confrontation. Ben emphasized that the rivalry between the two is genuine, stemming not just from their father's iconic battles, but from a personal dislike between them.
An idiot getting in front of me while I'm trying to cut weight and pushing me. Of course I don't like that. I don't like somebody getting into the ring and putting his head in my face, but I understand that this guy wants to take me out. There is a real beef between us. It is real. It's not just because our fathers fought. We do not like each other. I don't think this guy should be in the sport. I want to take him out of the sport. It's personal between us, and I can't wait for that fight.
Meanwhile, Eddie Hearn, who was at the altercation, looks very annoyed and angry about Chris Eubank Jr. Even when Eubank accused him of staging all the drama and altercation, he criticized him badly.
Man, you went face-to-face.
Useless. He's going to get destroyed.
He's getting destroyed.
He's going to get on fire at the minute. Unstoppable. He's going to spin his jaw.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the thing with Devin Haney and Antonio Maranko?
Yeah.
When he hits him with the right hand and the head goes round. That's what's going to happen. It's going to destroy him.
Eddie Hearn expressed his excitement about the possibility of Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn facing off, calling it one of the biggest fights not just in British boxing, but globally. He acknowledged the major interest in making the fight happen, especially from Turki Alalshikh, a prominent figure in Saudi Arabian boxing events. Hearn hinted that fans won't have to wait long, as efforts are underway to ensure the fight happens soon.
It's one of the biggest fights in the world, biggest fight in British boxing. Of course, Turki Alalshikh wants to make the fight, so you will see this fight very soon.
Riyadh or London?
We'll see, but you will see this fight very soon.
Yeah. The next fight? Not February, surely not.
The next fight for both.
Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn have had a heated rivalry, and tensions boiled over during a recent altercation where Eubank Jr. reportedly headbutted Benn in the ring. This incident further escalated their animosity, with both fighters exchanging heated words. The altercation has only added to the anticipation of their eventual face-off in the ring, intensifying the already fierce rivalry between the two. Conor Benn, discussing the potential fight with Chris Eubank Jr., confidently stated that the fight is essentially done, although not yet signed. He expressed eagerness for a February showdown, predicting an early stoppage. When asked if the fight was still personal, Benn emphasized that it definitely was, leaving no doubt about the deep-seated rivalry between the two. His passionate response highlights the intensity of this long-awaited matchup.
How soon can we get this fight made, Conor?
The fight's made.
The fight's done?
Fight's made.
Signed?
Not signed, but the fight's made. It's done.
Okay. February?
God willing.
How does it go?
Stoppage. Early.
Is it as personal as it always has been, or more personal?
You tell me. It's either that or I'm an amazing actor.
No, but to you?
Well, of course it is. I don't think I've ever felt the way I felt about Chris and anybody else.
Conor Benn had been preparing for his clash with Eubank Jr. by emphasizing his mindset in the ring. For Benn, stepping into a fight was never just a job, but something far more personal. This attitude shaped the way he fought, driven by intense emotion rather than treating it as mere business. He had always carried a sense of proving himself, and this determination was reflected in the way he approached his battles. He said, "I'm a fighter, IF on the motion, the same business for me. It's always personal. It's always personal when I get in there. I got a chip on my shoulder, that's the way I fight. Love it or hate it, it's the way I am, and I ain't going to offend or fold or break for anybody. I am what I am, and that's what makes me the fighter I am. Whatever gets me going, gets me going." Chris Eubank Jr.'s trainer, Jonathan, shared his no-nonsense approach to the tension and hype surrounding fights. He made it clear that all the talk and rivalries outside the ring were irrelevant to him. What mattered most, in his view, was the actual fight and the signed contracts that sealed it. For him, the real focus was always on getting into the ring, as anything else was just noise.
I don't pay attention to beef, because beef is something you put on the grill, barbecue grill, you know what I'm saying, and eat it. I don't pay attention to that. I pay attention to signed contracts and fights. You get in the ring, I don't care, you can have all the beef in the world, it won't mean nothing. until you got a signed contract. You get.
Jonathan continued his thoughts, addressing the uncertainty around potential fights and emphasizing that the ball was in Conor Benn's court if he truly wanted to make the fight happen. According to him, if Ben was serious about facing Eubank Jr., he would need to step up to the 160-pound weight class and make the necessary move to secure the fight.
I don't know what's made, what's almost made, if it will be made, I don't know. You know, but according to Conor Ben, right, that's his name. If he really wants to fight, he'd step up to 160 and make the fight happen.
Jonathan spoke further about the potential outcome of a fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. He admitted that opinions could change as the fight neared, but his primary goal was for Chris to step into the ring and secure a stoppage. This was his focus, though he acknowledged that the dynamics might shift as the fight got closer. He added, "If they make the fight and get closer, it may change. I may say 4, I don't know, but I believe, Chris, stop him. That's the goal for me, is to get in there and fight him and stop." Jonathan clarified that his views were strictly from a boxing perspective. He wanted to ensure there was no misunderstanding or personal animosity toward Conor Benn. His focus remained entirely on the sport and what could happen inside the ring. He continued, "If they fight, but again, I just want this to be clear, this is nothing against Conor, like we just talking about strictly boxing." The rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn is deeply rooted in boxing history, as their fathers, Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, had one of the most iconic rivalries in British boxing during the 1990s. The elder Eubank and Benn fought twice, with Eubank winning their first encounter in 1990 by TKO, and their rematch in 1993 ending in a draw. This fierce rivalry captured the boxing world's attention and became a defining moment in British boxing. Simon Jordan expressed his reservations about the much-discussed fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. While he acknowledged the public's demand for the bout, Jordan didn't share the same enthusiasm. He criticized both fighters, suggesting that they were trading off their fathers' legacies rather than building their own.
Listen, I understand the demand for it. I don't like the demand for it. It's a pseudo has-been against a never-was-been, trading on their fathers' legacies who were legitimate champions that went into rings with legitimate achievements. Neither one of these guys have got it. Every time Eubank Jr. steps up, he gets beat. And then talks about who he's going to fight next and never does it.
He also noted how Benn's appearance during the confrontation with Eubank Jr. resembled a WWE-style spectacle, which he found embarrassing. Jordan believed that if this was what fans wanted, it wasn't reflective of true boxing.
He did the job on Saturday night.
Yeah, so he should.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
limited
a hand-picked opponent.
He beat Liam Smith in the rematch.
That was a good.
And so
he
should. He's a bloody light middleweight.
That was a good performance.
I mean, Liam Smith bashed him up in the first fight. I mean, the bottom line is
good performance in a rematch.
But wasn't Conor Benn showing though all the signs of major improvement until he failed that drugs test?
Did you not? But he's a welterweight. He's a welterweight. Well, he's a welterweight that's got to step up 2 weight classes. And I thought that Conor Benn was on a trajectory to be a competitive fighter, maybe a world title challenger in his weight class. This is just trading off their fathers' names. And if the public want it and they like this kind of spectacle, I thought he looked like WWE on Saturday. I thought he looked like Cat out of Red Dwarf, Conor Benn, when he walks in the ring. I thought it was embarrassing.
Adam Catterall responded to Simon Jordan's criticism by defending the entertainment value of the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. He acknowledged that while both fighters may not have achieved the same level of success as their fathers, the demand for this fight remained high because of its appeal to casual fans. He said, "It's entertainment, but if you spent time with Conor like I have, and we wish you about, they are very, very different characters. Their fathers that was part of the beauty of Eubank and Benn back in the day. As Simon said, they were accomplished world champions. They were fighting at a much higher level." Catterall went on to explain that while neither Chris Eubank Jr. nor Conor Benn had reached the same heights in boxing as their fathers, the fight remained one of the most anticipated outside of the heavyweight division. He argued that there weren't many other exciting matchups in the division, and this particular fight had the ability to capture the attention of casual boxing fans. He added, "Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't done that, neither has Conor Benn, but it's the fight that everybody wants to see. Because you actually dust underneath the heavyweight division, and there's not that many other great, yes, perhaps you are. There's a few that you can think of, but this is a fight that the casual fans will get involved with." Fast forward to the next generation, and Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn have inherited their father's competitive spirit. Over time, the rivalry between the two fighters has grown, fueled by trash talk and media speculation about a potential showdown. Both fighters have enjoyed successful careers in the ring, with Eubank Jr. holding a record of 33 wins and 3 losses, while Benn remains undefeated with 23 wins. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn clashed in a heated confrontation in Riyadh right before Eubank's middleweight bout against Kamil Szeremeta. The two longtime rivals, whose much-anticipated October 2022 fight was called off due to Ben's doping controversy, rekindled their rivalry in the hotel lobby shortly after the weigh-in for Eubank's undercard in the Beterbiev vs. Bivol event.
Hey Chris, don't fuck up the bag, son. Don't fuck up the bag. Don't fuck up the bag. Hey, don't fuck up the bag.
You would show up on the damn cutting weight, huh?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, you like what? Like what? You're lucky you're fighting tomorrow. I'll fuck you up right now. Yeah.
You see, this guy comes in when I'm cutting weight.
He comes in when he can't wait. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow after the fight. I'll see you tomorrow after the fight.
Get in that ring.
Yeah, what? Get in that ring. I'll get in that ring and fucking give it to you. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, mate. You're fucking lucky you're fighting tomorrow.
We'll see.
You're lucky, mate.
We'll see.
Get your hand off me.
It's okay, let him come close, man. I like this. I like this energy. I like this energy.
After walking past the arena where the altercation took place, Chris Eubank Jr. addressed the situation, dismissing the confrontation as childish behavior.
What do you think about that little altercation, Chris?
Little. That is the key word in that sentence. Little kid.
Eddie Hearn, who was with Conor Benn during the altercation, stood back and let the drama unfold. He expressed excitement about the prospect of a fight between Benn and Eubank Jr., calling it one of the biggest fights in all of boxing, not just in British boxing. Hearn teased that their confrontation could escalate soon, possibly even in the ring. He said, "You're talking about a mega fight. This fight is one of the biggest fights in boxing. Forget British boxing. And tomorrow night, don't be surprised to see him jump in the ring and set about Chris Eubank Jr." Hearn further stressed the personal intensity of their rivalry, explaining that the tension between Benn and Eubank Jr. had reached a point where they seemed ready to attack each other on sight. He noted that this only made the eventual fight an even bigger event for the fans. He added, "He wants to take his head off his shoulders. It's such a huge fight. They want to attack each other on sight at all times. Do you want a show? We'll give you a show." Discussing Eubank Jr. further, Hearn acknowledged the fighter's appeal but admitted he found him socially awkward. However, he pointed out that Eubank Jr.'s unique personality is part of what draws fans to him and fuels the excitement around the potential fight. Hearn remarked that the ongoing drama between the two fighters keeps fans eagerly awaiting the matchup.
I think he's entertaining. I think he plays the game. Do I like him? I don't dislike him. I find him socially a little bit awkward. But this is what you love, isn't it? I mean, listen.
It's entertaining.
That's all. See that right there?
Yeah.
Do you know what that's done? That's giving you all a chirp in your pants. Yeah? And at the end of the day, you want to see those two in a real fight? Yeah. Let's make it happen.
Hearn also touched on the difficulty of making the fight happen due to the deep mutual dislike between Benn and Eubank Jr., but emphasized that if it does happen, it would be the biggest in British boxing, with the potential to sell out Wembley Stadium and generate millions for both fighters.
Listen, because of how much they hate each other, it's always difficult. Yeah. We've got plans to win championships at 147. Don't forget, Conor's got to go up 2 divisions to fight this guy. But if it was at 147, it would be a mismatch. Because Conor is, on every level, so much better than Chris Eubank Jr. But at 160, it's a very tough fight. But
because it's 2 weight classes above, and we've seen people try to move 2 weight classes above, and it hasn't worked out, is there like...
But what happens, Marcos, is the difference in ability, in my opinion, is substantial. So when you move up the divisions, you make it a fair fight. That's the only reason this is a tough fight, is because Conor's got to go to middleweight. He's not a middleweight. He's a big welter. But we'll do it because it's the biggest fight in British boxing. They're going to make millions and millions. We're going to sell out Wembley Stadium.
Conor Benn, addressing the altercation, dismissed Eubank's claim that Benn confronted him while he was weight drained, accusing him of trying to manipulate the narrative for the media. Benn made it clear that he wouldn't hesitate to confront Eubank directly and would not back down from any challenge. Benn said, "That's him just selling it to the media that I pulled up on him while he's weight drained, and most people will fall for it. You want to come and start walking over to me, I'll meet you bang in the middle, and I'll nip it in the bud right here, right now. You think I ain't going to do nothing about it? At all." With boxing officials and hotel guests looking on, Conor Benn initiated the confrontation, shouting, "Don't f*** up the bag," hinting that the much-anticipated fight between him and Chris Eubank Jr. might finally be close to becoming a reality. Eubank, remaining calm at first, responded with his usual composed demeanor as the tension between them increased. The situation escalated quickly when the two went face-to-face, with Benn threatening, "You're lucky you're fighting tomorrow, or I would fuck you up right now." Eubank Jr., unfazed by the provocation, fired back, "You see, this guy only comes in when I am cutting weight," suggesting that Ben tends to confront him when he is at his weakest. Ben, rattled by the remark, responded, "I'll see you tomorrow after the fight." Eubank Jr. invited the confrontation further, saying, "We will see. Let him come in close. I like this energy," before Ben pushed him, prompting their teams to step in and separate them. The exchange didn't end there. Ben taunted Eubank, calling him, "You are a kid," to which Eubank shot back, "I am a kid that is going to f you up." Eubank then issued a warning, "Watch what happens." This fiery encounter between Ben and Eubank Jr. has fueled speculation that their long-awaited fight is on the horizon, potentially reigniting the fierce rivalry that began between their fathers, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr., 3 decades ago. In his October 12th fight, Chris Eubank Jr. faced Kamil Szeremeta on the undercard of the Beterbiev vs. Bivol event. Eubank Jr. put on a solid performance, showcasing his usual aggression and sharpness after a long period of inactivity. Szeremeta, though the game, struggled to handle Eubank's relentless pressure. Eubank demonstrated his superior skill set, landing powerful combinations and controlling the fight's tempo. This victory keeps Eubank Jr. in the conversation for bigger middleweight clashes and further solidifies his position in the division. Frank Warren discussed Chris Eubank Jr.'s recent fight, offering a blunt assessment of his performance. Warren acknowledged that Eubank did what was expected of him, but in his eyes, the victory wasn't particularly impressive. Eubank faced an opponent he was supposed to beat, and Warren felt that the performance lacked any standout moments.
Yeah, the real brutal truth of it is he's done what he's supposed to do, but he didn't look nothing sensational to me. You know, he was in with a guy he was expected to beat.
If Ben can successfully move up in weight and maintain his power and speed, this fight would likely be one of the most highly anticipated matchups in British boxing. The key factors would be Eubank's size and experience versus Ben's youth and aggression. Frank Warren continued his critique of Chris Eubank Jr., expressing his belief that Eubank would struggle against a fighter like Hamza Shiraz. Warren was confident that Hamza would dominate Eubank in a fight, emphasizing that Eubank's performance didn't impress him at all.
Do Hamza and Conor beat him both?
I think Hamza beats him all day long. All day long. I mean, did you think he looks outstanding? I certainly didn't do it at all.
In October 2022, a highly anticipated fight between Eubank Jr. and Ben was scheduled to take place, drawing significant attention as fans hoped to see the sons of two boxing legends settle their differences in the ring. However, just days before the fight, Conor Benn tested positive for a banned substance, leading to the cancellation of the bout. The incident further intensified the rivalry, as Eubank Jr. publicly criticized Benn and expressed frustration over the missed opportunity. With their rivalry continuing to escalate, the possibility of a future fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn remains a hot topic. Ben is still dealing with the fallout from his positive drug test and the ongoing investigation, which has temporarily halted his ability to fight in the UK. However, both fighters have expressed interest in settling their differences in the ring, and given their recent altercation, the demand for this fight is growing. If Ben can resolve his legal and regulatory issues, a matchup with Eubank Jr. could potentially be one of the biggest British boxing showdowns in years, with the storyline, history, and personal animosity making it a blockbuster event. For now, fans are left waiting to see if the two fighters will finally meet in the ring and continue the legacy that their fathers started decades ago. Derek Chisora shared his thoughts on a potential fight, expressing his interest in seeing it happen. However, he tempered expectations by suggesting that the bout might not be as thrilling as many anticipate. Chisora seemed to believe that the fight could fall short of the excitement level expected by fans.
He lost the fight. It's not a big deal.
Final one, Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn had a bit of a scuffle at the hotel today. Do you want to see that fight?
Yes, I want to see that fight, but it's not going to be exciting as we think it will be.
Derek Chisora continued by highlighting the challenges people are currently facing, particularly with finances. He noted that with many people budgeting carefully, it might affect the success of a pay-per-view event. Chisora expressed doubts about whether the fight would attract enough viewers, hinting that some might look for alternative ways to watch it without paying.
I want Conor to have a warm-up fight before he gets in there with him.
Do you think there's so much money involved that people will just need to jump into the ring at a time that they're called upon?
Don't know, because things are hard right now. People are budgeting less, do you understand? Things are hard, bro. And I don't think the pay-per-view would do well. Well, if I'm at home, I'll stream that motherfucker.
If Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn were to fight, it would likely take place in the middleweight or super middleweight division, given Eubank's recent fights at middleweight and Benn's need to move up from welterweight. Eubank Jr., who has experience at both middleweight, 160 pounds, and super middleweight, 168 pounds, would have a size and power advantage. Benn, primarily a welterweight, 147 pounds, would need to adjust to fighting 2 weight classes above his usual. As of now, neither fighter holds a major world title. Eubank Jr. previously won the IBO super middleweight title, and Benn, while undefeated, has yet to claim a major belt. If they were to fight in the middleweight division, titles held by champions like Jermall Charlo or Gennady Golovkin could be in play. At super middleweight, the belts would belong to Canelo Alvarez, making a title fight difficult without earning a shot first. Adam Catterall enthusiastically spoke about the potential fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, highlighting the long-standing history between their families. He mentioned how the fathers of both fighters, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr., were superior fighters, but the sons still had the charisma and rivalry that made this matchup highly anticipated.
Of course we're going to see it, and secondly, of course I want to see it, and it's going to happen. It's the biggest fight outside the heavyweight division. The history is there. I work with their fathers. They're much better fighters than the sons. However, the characters are there, the spice, the needle, the weird weight difference, the whole background, the fact it nearly happened before. The trouble is, and I know Simons is going to come in on this.
Catterall compared the Eubank-Benn fight to the lack of recognition for top-tier boxers like Bivol and Beterbiev. He pointed out that despite their elite skills, Bivol and Beterbiev don't have the same public recognition or crossover appeal. In contrast, the rivalry between Eubank and Benn has captivated the public, making it a fight that people are eager to see and one that the fans are demanding.
On this, the trouble is that Bivol and Beterbiev, you walk down the street and no one knows who they are, and that's the problem. And they're the high-class boxers who we bang on about, but unfortunately, they're not crossing over. These two, you walk down the street, you ask them about Nigel and Conor Benn or Chris Eubank, people want to see this fight. It's a fight that the public are demanding, and they will get it.
Eubank Jr., with 33 wins and 3 losses, is known for his relentless style, strong chin, and durability against top-level fighters. Benn, undefeated at 23-0, has knockout power, but his inexperience in higher weight divisions would be a major factor. Eubank's experience at higher levels against world champions could give him an edge, while Benn's explosiveness and speed may surprise Eubank if he adjusts well to the weight increase. This fight is more than just about legacy, it's personal, with both men having something to prove. Will Eubank Jr. dominate, or will Benn rise above the odds? Don't miss out. Subscribe now and tell us who you're backing in the comments.